a complex program in India to build resilience in water-stressed communities and to improve the health and well-being of women and communities touched by the apparel value chain. During our session today, we're going to start with a few minutes of context on the situation in India. We'll be talking about the issue of water stress there, as well as challenges around women's empowerment. Then our panelists will engage in a facilitated discussion for about 30 minutes. And finally, we've reserved some time at the end for questions and answers. A few bits of housekeeping before we proceed today. First, to let you know, the session is being recorded and we plan on sharing it both back to CWE, but also among our own networks. And I'd like to advise you to please use the chat window to ask any questions that you have during our session today. We'll be monitoring that throughout our talk, and that's what we're going to refer back to when we get to that questions and answer session at the very end. It might be that we don't get through all of the questions posed in the chat window. That's okay. We are planning to prepare a written response to all the questions that come to us in that chat box, and we're going to be posting it back to the website for my home institution, I4DI, and I'll share that link here with you in the chat box in just a couple minutes so you know where to look to find the answers to your questions. And finally, last point is kind of a big one. Please keep yourself muted today while we're talking. This will minimize the disruptions that we encounter during our session, and it allows everybody to get the most out of their participation today. Again, if you've got questions, just go ahead and put them, or comments, put them in that chat box, and we'll engage with those at the end. Okay, let's begin with a little bit of context on the situation in India. Over recent years, India has made strides in the availability and quality of its municipal drinking water systems, but its rural populations have lagged behind and they have faced continued issues with accessing safe drinking water. Throughout much of India, water scarcity is a growing issue, and you can see here on this graphic on the left, about 33% of India's population of 1.4 billion people are estimated to be living in water-scarce areas. In fact, data from the World Resources Institute show that India ranks 13th among the world's 17 extremely water-stressed countries. These are places where irrigated agriculture, industries, and municipalities are withdrawing more than 80% of their available supply on average every year. And by the year 2030, it's estimated that demand in India is going to exceed supply by twofold. Now, it's also important for the purposes of our talk today to understand the situation related to women's empowerment in India. And I have some facts for you over on the right side of our slide. Several indicators help us better understand women's empowerment. Women are underrepresented in the Indian labor force, and most of their work is unpaid. The percent of Indian women who are landowners is highly disproportionate to their presence in the agricultural labor sector. About half of Indian women lack a personal bank account for their use, and 60% have no valuable assets in their name. Such challenges have also been faced in the program implementation sites for the Women+Water Alliance. We know this because we conducted baseline surveys in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra states. Among 2,000 households, we had 2,239 women participating in our baseline surveys. With regard to the water situation, overall, we found that 20% of households were using an unimproved water source as their main source of water. And overall, 13% indicated that they only had partial year access to their main water source. During other seasons, especially during the summer season, they needed to find a secondary source to fill their household's water needs. Most water sources are off-site, particularly in Madhya Pradesh state, and the responsibility for the collection of water at the household level falls disproportionately on women. On average, they're spending 24 minutes round trip 4 times per day to collect water for their household. And this represents a pretty great opportunity cost as it relates to their potential loss of wages all this time that they're spending fetching water for their households. In our baseline survey, we also asked a series of questions that are around females' empowerment on wash decisions. We were asking who in the household makes certain wash decisions. As you can see in our chart here, we found relatively high female agency as it related to household water management, but substantially lower agency around spending. The bottom line being in many of these households that participated in our survey, it's men who are making the final decisions regarding use of financial resources. And now I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Sashwat Rath. Sashwat is based in India. He's the Deputy Chief of Party for the Women+Water Alliance. And he's going to be moderating our panelists in a discussion on the secret sauce for resilience in water-stressed communities. And they'll be talking about this through the lens of the SDGs. Sashwat.
Thank you, Bridget, for setting the stage. I love the panel discussion topic on secret sauce for resilience in water-stressed communities. We have 17 Sustainable Development Goals that address most of the development sector issues. These SDGs are in our plain sight. And yet, we have the water-stressed communities, like what Bridget mentioned right now. We believe a secret sauce with the right combination of SDGs might be able to help the situation. Today, in our panel discussion, we intend to find what combination could possibly work. During the panel discussion, you might hear panelists referring to Women+Water Alliance. Let me tell you, this is a public-private partnership between USAID and Gap Inc., coming together to improve and sustain the health and well-being of women and communities touched by apparel industries in India. In this, Gap Inc. also serves as a prime, which basically means that Gap Inc. manages the program, along with, in partnership with CARE, Water.org, WaterAid, ISC, and as implementing partners. And I4DI, Bridget is from I4DI, and ICIW as evaluation partners. Before I introduce my panelists for today, just as a reminder, please use the chat functionality in Zoom to ask your questions. You have an option to ask the questions directly to me as the moderator, and we will be monitoring that. We'll try to save some time at the end to answer that. To discuss our topic today, I'm very pleased to introduce our diverse panel who would help in unpacking the secret sauce to build community resilience in water-stressed region. From CARE, we have Sharad Kislia, who is team leader for Women+Water Alliance. He's a development professional with over 17 years of experience of working for well-being of women and girls. Welcome, Sharad.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sashwat.
From Water.org, we have Sudhir Arya, who is Senior Manager for Banking Partnership and leading Women+Water Alliance work. Sudhir brings over 11 years of experience from agricultural research, development, microfinance, and banking sectors. Welcome, Sudhir.
Yeah, thanks, Ashwat. Hello, everyone.
From WaterAid, we have Kavita Tiwari, who is Manager for Institutional Partnership from WaterAid India team. Kavita leads the institutional partnership for WaterAid India, wherein she works with various donors and supports with the investments in water, sanitation, and hygiene. Welcome, Kavita.
Thank you so much, Ashwat. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this panel discussion today.
Great. Thank you, Kavita. water availability, accessibility, and mismanagement is already a big world issue, and it's going to grow worse over time. Some statistics say that half of the world will be water stressed by 2030. I'm sorry, I need to be muting people. Let me rephrase my question again, my statement again. We are dealing with 4 issues these days: COVID-19, climate change, water issues, and technology. With social distancing, technology has come up in a big way, and we are learning new ways of working with technology. So sorry, I have to mute you right now so that we don't disrupt the proceeding. So like I was saying, some statistics say that half of the world will be water stressed by 2030. Some say that 2/3 will be water stressed by 2025. No matter how you read the statistics, it's a scary scenario. We already know that water stress could lead to several health issues, maladaptive practices, stresses, etc. It's important to address the effects, agree. But for today's panel discussion, we want to address the disease, not the symptoms. So today, we will be discussing on how to solve for what leads to these issues. So with that said, let me ask my first panelist from CARE. Sharad, what is the base on which a solution for community resilience could be built?
Thank you, Sashwat, for the question on building community resilience in a water-stressed region. CARE, as a part of Women+Water Alliance, is imparting PACE curriculum, where PACE stands for Personal Advancement and Career Enhancement. The groups of women are led through PACE curriculum for over 6 months' time. And we are working in 5 districts of Madhya Pradesh and 2 districts of Maharashtra. The aim of this training is to advance women's self-efficacy and advancement through PACE curriculum in a span of 6 months' time. The training focuses on advancing self-efficacy and leadership among these women through increased knowledge on life skills and capacity building to improve and sustain the health and well-being of these women and the communities around them. The training focuses and women are involved in discussions around WASH, not only for healthier practices, but also ways to collectively demand improved water and sanitation in their families and the communities. The training provides an opportunity to the women and supports in building agency level knowledge, skills and abilities to act, decision-making capacities and skills needed to make life decisions, which they subsequently use to improve their access to all kinds of services, including WASH. CARE has also introduced modules on men and boys engagement into PACE training to engage them as a change agent in meeting the expectations and aspirations of these women. This has facilitated support from men and boys to oppose social norms and practices that restricted women's right to access effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision making. The training facilitates a platform called interface meeting for these women to have an opportunity to raise their issues, concerns, and challenges in front of government officials, duty bearers, and other stakeholders, including Women+Water Alliance partners. The focus of this interface meeting is to raise their concern and ensure to move on to improving wash facilities in the community. And then the duty bearers and the government officials can provide a solution for improving the wash facilities in the communities. These women have demonstrated their leadership to raise the issues and concerns and also demand with concerned officials and the stakeholders and also the Women+Water Alliance partners. PACE training which is being delivered by CARE is aligned towards and contributes to Sustainable Development Goal 5. As one of the target of SDG 5 is to ensure women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision making in political, economic, and public life, that is target 5.5. PACE training supports women in building their confidence, self-esteem, and aspirations in non-formal sphere of knowledge, skills, and capabilities for formal spheres, and thus contributing towards this goal. With this, I would like to conclude by saying that training men and women on PACE curriculum with a focus on WASH has equipped them to raise the demand related to WASH activities and initiatives and seek support from government and other partners of Women+Water Alliance. Thank you, Sashwat.
Thank you, Sharad, for sharing the impact of working towards SDG 5. I agree. And it is established that gender equality and women empowerment is important for working towards a resilient community. However, is that enough? What happens when women are empowered to take WASH decisions, but they do not have the funds to support their decision? Sudhir from water.org, you are a specialist in answering such questions, right? What's your take on this? And what are the other SDGs that you would like to add to this secret sauce? Sudhir?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sashwat, and thanks everyone for joining in. So thank you, Sashwat, for highlighting that women must not only be empowered to take decisions regarding their water, sanitation, health, and hygiene needs, they also need to have access, knowledge, and agency to finance their decisions. So, as you rightly said, financing is a key ingredient that often gets overlooked when we talk about WASH for households. So today, 785 million people, 1 in 9, lack access to safe water, and 2 billion people, 1 in 3, lack access to a toilet. The World Bank estimates that globally $18 billion is needed by the individuals to fund their water and sanitation needs. These very basic needs, if solved, can turn problems into potential. So unlocking education, economic potential, and improved health outcomes for women and children, right? But again, the question is stuck at funds. So where can this fund come from? So traditional form of philanthropy and government fundings alone are not going to address this financing demand. So in addition to government efforts, there is a bigger role for the private sector to play here. At water.org, we believe that market-driven financing solutions are a key driver for women and communities living at the base of the economic pyramid. And not only to access safe wash, but also build resilience for themselves and among their community. Through our programs, we have empowered people from low-income households, especially women, with the options to apply for small and affordable loans to meet their wash needs. And what we have found interesting is that often when given an opportunity to pay for water and sanitation improvements with loans, families opt to finance long-term solutions versus struggling day to day to find that next liter of water or a place to relieve themselves. So the key has been partnering with the right kind of organizations, carefully selected financial institutions that provide small loans either directly or link these women groups to affordable financing for water and sanitation. And these people in need use small and affordable loans to put a tap or a toilet in their homes, assessing local vendors when it comes to build their physical infrastructure. So how does the lending happens? So it happens through direct lending by banks and microfinance institutions, through group or individual model. It happens through business correspondent or business facilitators model. And it also happens through bulk lending by banks to microfinance institutions. So Sashwat, these small and affordable loans are, answer to finance the decisions of the women. Thank you.
I agree, Sudhir. Individual funding for water sanitation needs are important. But can you maybe share some of your experience on how this could be practically implemented and also talk a bit about it from the SDG lens, Sudhir?
Sure, happy to. Thank you, Sashwat. And when we are working with the Women and Water Alliance, we work very closely with CARE and WaterAid to enable access to financing for PACE women and men that Sharji had just mentioned. So where CARE have shared the knowledge to these women groups on wash credit financing, and at the same time, WaterAid support has been phenomenal to effectively convey the message on affordable financing as a solution to various government agencies. And I would also like to acknowledge the tremendous support and guidance extended by USAID and Gapping to implement these solutions under Women and Water Alliance. So water.org work with governments, institutions in the water and sanitation sector and other partners at a system level to influence public policy and practice changes that increase the flow of credit for household and household water and sanitation solutions, and that at a system level we coordinate with these institutions, and we look forward to having new partnerships opportunities to crowd in affordable financing to support achieving SDGs 6 goal. So now let me switch to the SDGs around it. So as per World Bank, $114 billion needs to spend every year from 2016 to 2030 to achieve SDGs 6.1 and 6.2. But the irony is actual amount spent is just about a third of the amount. So crowding in commercial capital to enable affordable financing is an important way of meeting some of this gap. So loans to household for water and sanitation have emerged as an efficient income enabling products in the microlending universe and have the strong potential to contribute significantly to India's mission of achieving SDG 6 by 2030, as well as to complement some of the key programs of government India like Swachh Bharat Mission and Jal Jeevan Mission. And often we hear from new lenders that they perceive water and sanitation loans to be risky as they do not lead to direct income generation. But our experience and research suggests that these loans are income enabling and life enhancing loans and have huge social impact on the people living in the poverty. And as you know, these all SDGs are interrelated with several important linkages. At water.org, we strongly believe that addressing or meeting SDG 6 will enable the world to accomplish several other SDGs. So let me give you a few examples with some fact to establish these linkages. So I want to remind myself and participants that women and girls, they spend 200 million hours every day by collecting water. And achieving SDG 6 will solve a women's crisis. And that will be helpful to accomplish SDG 5, as Sharatji mentioned, namely gender equality. Second is nearly 1 million people die each year from water, sanitation, and hygiene related diseases. And achieving SDG 6 will help to solve the health crisis, and that definitely going to helpful in meeting SDG 3, namely good health and well-being. And third, children are often responsible for collecting water for their families and taking their time away from school and play. So achieving SDG 6 will solve children's education crisis, and that would be helpful to accomplish SDG 4, namely quality education. And the final point I want to put on the table is the time spent gathering water or seeking safe sanitation accounts for billions of dollars lost economic opportunity. And the achieving SDG 6 will solve this economic crisis, and that would be helpful to accomplish SDG 1, namely no poverty. So, Water.org has this proven model of enabling access to affordable financing, thus enabling the people in need to get access to water and sanitation. And we look forward to seeing a day in our lifetime when everyone in the world has access to safe water and sanitation. Thank you, sir.
Yes, definitely look forward to that. Let's hope we are able to achieve it, Sudhir. Thank you. And thank you for also giving us the importance of working towards SDG 6. So, we know that now it's important to work towards SDG 5, but also towards SDG 6 and several other SDGs that you mentioned, Sudhir. Now this sauce is getting really interesting. But is that the complete recipe that we are looking for? Now, as a moderator, I have an easy task today. All I need to ask is that enough for water-stressed community? What about the support structure for our empowered community? Kavita Tiwari from WaterAid, would you like to take that on the support structure for our empowered community? But before I hand it over to you, Kavita, just for audience, please use the chat box to ask your question. You can directly ask the question to us or in the public forum, as we will be trying to answer some of them after Kavita has spoken. Kavita, over to you.
Thank you, Sashwat. So to answer your question, the binding ingredient in the secret sauce is partnership. WaterAid in this Women in Water Alliance that we are talking about, we have been able to achieve a lot of things because of this ingredient of partnership. At the community level, we have been successful in developing partnerships within the communities, so they are able to locally manage their drinking water solutions. We've been able to develop partnerships with the local institutions. These local institutions are well placed, they have passion, and we have tried to build their technical strength to strengthen their position within their local communities. In this Women in Water Alliance, like Bridget has announced, there are so many different organizations working together. And the beauty of this project is that all these organizations are putting together their skills to accomplish one mission. It is to resolve the crisis faced by women in collecting water. So this is something which has really worked for WaterAid in this Women in Water Alliance project, Sashwat. The baseline study which Bridget was talking about, that has really helped us in developing a understanding about these geographies and various issues faced by women in terms of water crisis, other social and economic challenges that they have. The women and youth, which have been trained by CARE, which Sharatji has spoken about, they are, these women and youth are excellent volunteers. That when we work with them, because they have undergone the WASH session in their PACE training, so they have the basic understanding of WASH. So it's easier for us when we work with them. It's so easy for us to talk to them about, say, water scarcity, water quality, all those technical things. They absorb that very easily. And when we work in the communities, when we talk to women about maybe having a hand pump closer to their house, having a household tap in their house, the question comes about the finance. Luckily for us in this partnership, we have a reputed partner like Water.org, which is there to answer all those financing related questions. There's another partner in this project, ISC, which has done a intensive, comprehensive pilot on water use efficiency by farming communities. And learnings from that project is helping us in undertaking discussion with farmers on using water efficiently and doing water conservation, as we know that, when you're working in a farming belt, that is where the maximum water is being used. While we're working with all different sort of partners at the community level and with all these multinational organizations who are bringing their expertise, one of the critical partnership that we've been able to gather and garner in this project is with the government. We are working with Public Health Engineering Department, which is a government department responsible for providing drinking water to the communities. And we are supporting them in delivering their services by helping them with the technical expertise that we have from our global working. And one of the things that we have been able to achieve that we are very proud of is the open start of this progressive discussion between the women and the government. As a result of which, what has happened that a lot of programs, plans, and policies which are now being developed have voices from the women into that. So we are working with the government, with these departments to ensure that when we implement the project, they are addressing the voices from the field. And I would like to narrate an example on how we were able to put it up all together. Like in last year, what has happened that Bridget has just shared the kind of situation that these women are living with in terms of water scarcity. The situation is even worse during the summer seasons. I mean, news are everywhere. I'm sure all of our participants would have read about the condition of Indian villages, most of the Indian villages during the summer season. So last year, Government of India launched this nationwide water conservation drive called, so they launched this nationwide water conservation drive. WaterAid, with this partnership with the government, we were able to train the government officials on various technical aspects of water conservation in terms of how to create a water conservation structure, the capacities, where it should be placed, and all that. These trained government officials, they went ahead and they leveraged government resources, and we could have 200 water conservation structures in our different villages that we have been working under this project. Now, with these structures in place, we launched a massive drive at the community level on water conservation, and our youth and from PACE training developed by CARE, they supported us. They were our brand ambassadors. They reached out to each and every household and spoken about water conservation. And households which were interested to get those structures in place, we had a partner, water.org, which were there to support their financing need. So, through this project, Ashwath, while we have been focusing on SDG 6, we could see that, putting all the partners together, we were also strengthening SDG 17 toward partnership. So to summarize my my answer, Ashwath, partnership is the binding ingredient in the secret sauce. Thank you. If you have more questions, Ashwath.
Thanks a lot. That's really well said, Kavita. Partnership at the end of the day kind of binds the secret sauce together. We have around 12 minutes for question and answer session. We have received few in the open chat. There's several questions that has come to me in private chats. So let me try and take some of those questions. One reads as, thank you for sharing some of the benefits of working in a PPP model. PPP is public-private partnership model for WASH. But what have been some of the challenges, and how do you manage a development sector program as a corporate prime? Okay, so I believe this question is towards Gap Inc. So I'm going to answer that. First of all, thank you for the question. I know traditionally managing a development sector program at this scale has always been done by NGOs and consultancies. We stepped into this role of managing a development sector program like this. This helped us to gain first-hand experience in implementing such program and learn about such program and the ground realities. It helps a lot to play the game rather than just pay for the ticket and watch the game from the sidelines, right? Get your hands dirty, that's what I mean. There has been ups and downs. We have learned and adapted from each of them. We're proud to be partnering with such amazing organizations. Actually, talking about partnership, I say that in our participant list, we have got our colleague from USAID here, Ella, whom we partner with in the USAID office. Would you like to take this question and let us know how the partnership has worked for you? And if you are taking it, and while you are at it, can I push another question that was asked? And it reads as, what's the future of PPP looking like in WASH sector? Ella, do you want to take this? And just for everyone to know, Ella is Senior Water and Sanitation Advisor at Center for Water Security, Sanitation, and Hygiene at USAID, and she is based out of the DC office. Ella, would you like to take that question?
Sure. Thanks so much, Sashwat. Thanks for picking on me this morning. Yeah, I see that there are a lot of good questions here, so I'll really try and keep my response to a minute. And I would say secret sauce, a secret recipe. I like to talk in threes, but I'll say two. One is really time and patience. It's key. When I first joined USAID about 4.5 years ago, we were just starting to talk about this partnership and how it would come together. And now, over 4.5 years in, we've accomplished quite a bit. We've actually managed to enroll more than 80,000 women in the PACE program under this alliance. So we're trying to reach 200,000. And so that's quite a feat, given that it's taken a lot of time. And so I would say a challenge, but also an opportunity to do things better is time, which I know a lot of us don't have a lot to spare of. And Gap Inc. is new to managing an award like this. So it's really stepping into a new role, establishing new systems and processes. And same with USAID, working with a corporate partner who's never had this experience before. And so we've really had to push each other on just from culture to establishing systems and being a bit more flexible in what we do at USAID, pushing the envelope for us as well. And the second one that I wanted to say is adaptive management. We say it a lot, USAID says, adaptive learning, adaptive management, adaptive everything. But I feel like this partnership is really, this alliance has embodied that, from adding in WaterAid, for instance, as a partner in the middle of implementation to help strengthen some of our WASH outcomes, modifying the life skills program, Women's Empowerment Program PACE, according to what we're seeing in the field. And I'll stop there. The last one is, what's the future of working with private sector? It's really, for us, how do you deliver solutions at scale? So we're definitely trying to push the envelope with Women+Water Alliance to think about that instead of just working in 2 states in India. And also really looking at market-based approaches and investments. That's pushing the USAID PS private sector engagement policy to looking at those things to lead to more transformation, not just in the sector and beyond. And I'll stop there, Sashwat, because you've got lots of great questions. Thank you. Over.
Thanks, Ella, and thank you for taking that question and being this board. Few more questions here. How empowered women are dealing with WASH challenges in the community? Okay, so we are talking about, we are empowering women in the community, but once they're empowered, how are they dealing with WASH challenges? Sharad from CARE, would you like to take that on? Sharad, we are unable to hear you. Okay, but while you're trying to fix that, maybe what we can do is we can move to the next question and come back to you, Sharad, again, while we are trying to fix your microphone. There are a few questions on the monitoring and evaluation. I'll take this one, which came first in my private chat. And it reads like, when working at scale, it's important to manage the data beyond baseline. And you did not speak about any other data that you might be collecting. Right, okay, I4DI, you are the data person here helping us with our monitoring evaluation. So Bridget, would you like to take that question?
Sure, thank you, Sashwat. Yes, so briefly, we are collecting a lot of data. In addition to the baseline study, which I referred to, we were planning to collect midline data as well. I saw a question here in the chat about how the pandemic has affected everything. I can briefly answer that. It completely disrupted our midline data collection, and we actually canceled that outright. The quantitative household survey was canceled. We are still planning to conduct an inline data collection as well, and we've been talking about innovative ways to go about that in case we are still facing issues with COVID-19 going into that period. As I think Sashwat, you mentioned at the beginning, I4DI is just one evaluation partner. We're evaluating the program as a whole based on the program strategy map, which is essentially the theory of change. The other partner, ICRW, is also doing evaluation work, but it is really specific around the PACE program, which my colleague Sharad talked most about during our session today. And of course, all the partners are collecting monitoring data as well, which everyone convenes around to digest regularly. And I have to say, although the quantitative, the big performance evaluation, the midline data collection was canceled, I4DI did carry out a midline process evaluation and conducted interviews with members of the Women+Water Alliance and reviewed program documents. And one of the key learnings that emerged from that process evaluation was around, actually just how good the Alliance actually is being a learning and adapting entity. So yes, we collect quite a lot of data. We try to make sure that those are relevant and that we actually use them. And there's a lot of good examples of how the group has used those data. So thank you for that question.
Thanks a lot, Bridget. There are a lot of questions coming in. Unfortunately, we might not be able to answer all of them with the next 3 minutes, but we'll try to answer as much as possible and post rest of them. Kavita, here's an interesting question, and I'm picking questions at random right now. How does the water quality for India compare to other parts of the world? And what can be done to improve water sanitation and quality? And I'm going to nest another question with that, which reads as, can you please describe one tangible intervention?
Okay, Sashwat. The first question, which is around the water quality, Government of India launched this composite water index report in 2018. And that was the first time that we acknowledged, that the government acknowledged that 70% of the surface water in India is unfit for consumption. And, if anybody is following the water index, global water index, India is at the 120th out of 122 countries. So, we are not doing great in terms of water quality. There are various reasons for that. And one of the good things that has happened in India right now is that the water quality and the water scarcity has taken the government's attention. We have now government leadership talking about water scarcity in the country. We have a new ministry altogether, the Ministry of Jal Shakti, which is now looking into various aspects of water scarcity and water quality in the country. So we are very hopeful that, with this government focus, we will be able to address or reach closer to the water quality, global water quality index. Will do much better maybe with the government leadership. Sashwat.
Thanks, Kavita. That's well answered. Sudhir, here is a tough question for you. So it says, isn't individual loans pushing the community towards poverty, especially for lower income community? That's a tough one, Sudhir. Do you want to take that?
Yeah. No, thank you, sir. I'll say rather, it's an interesting question. And, the people living in poverty, they spend, a large percentage of their income on actual and coping costs for water and sanitation. For example, spending huge money on, water tankers. And surprisingly, more than many of us who really spend our portion of our income to that. And, this taking out these small affordable loans whose rates of interest are regulated, these are more financially viable and reduce the cost of accessing water in the long run, actually. And in a well-regulated microcredit markets, it is also a tool to push people up the economic ladder. And through our work, we are also seeing 99% plus repayment rates for water and sanitation loans. That shows that these loans are affordable and indeed viable. And also, one interesting thing is the solution does not cater to the entire base of the economic pyramid. It is only available, to those who are eligible to take out the credit or the loans. For the ultra poor who cannot afford to borrow any loan, direct grants actually serve the purpose better. And these solutions also do help the government, to decide where it should deploy funding more efficiently for the ultra poor people. So overall, socioeconomic benefits of having, wash assets motivate the people to avail and repay these small and affordable loans to come out of the poverty.
Right,
Thank you,
Sudhir.
Sasha.
Right. I mean, we can have 1 hour discussion just on this topic, this question. And those were some tough questions, some honest answers, and great conversation. We are on time. So thank you, audience, for dialing in, patient hearing, and asking us the questions. Thank you, Bridget and I4DI, for being a wonderful host and providing us a platform. Thank you, all the panelists, Kavita, Sharad, Sudhir, for sharing your knowledge. We know that working towards several SDGs in sync would help us to build a resilient community, especially SDG 5 on gender equality, SDG 6 on clean water and sanitation, and SDG 17 on partnership. That is the sauce, which no longer is a secret. Hope to meet you all in person for the World Water Week in 2021. Till then, bye and stay safe.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, participants. Thank you.